Morning, afternoon, welcome. What's good, everyone? We wanted to do our LJ grounding, really talking about Black English and Black language, right? Ramelcy and I, this is Monica speaking. My pronouns are she and her. Ramelcy and I are the co-holders of Language Justice as it lives through MEV. MEV has always been a multilingual space, and it's always been a multilingual space, but language justice hasn't always been a center practice. And so in our commitment to center language justice as a part of our strategy of movement building and liberation, we have assembled a team. And what Ramelcy and I spent a lot of time thinking and partnering and strategizing about is, what does it mean to actually tune our ears to the impact Black people have on language, right? So we know that we're dealing with two colonizer languages in this context, right? There are many, right? And so and it was said multiple times, right? Like English itself is it can be very dehumanizing. English itself is woefully insufficient to actually express what we need. And I think the question I'm calling this morning is like, what English are we tuned into? Right? What is the English that we're tuned into, right? Because we know that Black English in and of itself is a language of liberation, of freedom, of joy. It is the language of care. It is the language of so many things. And in order for us to actually ground in the practice of language justice, we actually have to have a pro-Black stance. And I'm going to say specifically, a pro-queer Black feminist stance to actually be able to get free. And if we're only and if we're only listening on the channel of the colonizers' English and the colonizers' Spanish, we're going to miss it, and we're going to miss each other, and we're going to miss opportunities, and we're going to miss connection and joy and vibes, right? And so just really, and I want to just acknowledge how Black English unto itself is its own language. And I'm going to center on Black English because that's my context, but I know wherever Black people are, we are Blackifying the thing. So there is Black Spanish, there is Black Portuguese, right? And so, yeah, so with Black English, it is a language unto itself. Sometimes it is viewed as an offshoot of English. It is not an offshoot. It is its own indigenous language that reflects the conditions, the culture, and the context of African people who are living an experience that is new on the world landscape. I'm going to say that again. It might come out differently. What if we were to have a pro-Black stance towards language that allowed us to understand that Black English, African American vernacular English, is unto itself an indigenous language because it is being created out of the experience of free and trafficked African people in the West and in the United States or on Turtle Island, right? And so when we do that, then we can hear what Black folks have been calling for. And it also invites Black folks into the conversation or makes sure there's space. I don't know if it's about an invitation because we always hear. It also is like makes a space that is expansive for Black folks for whom we can be socialized to think that we don't have language when we have so many languages. We have so many languages. Black people are who only speak English are multilingual in and of ourselves, right? And so much of our socialization is like anti-Blackness. So we think Black English is an offshoot of English. It is a subpart English. We're socialized to think it is ghetto. We're socialized to think of it as limiting. Even folks in the community, right? Like that we always are socialized to code switching. And I know there's value to code switching. So I'm not discounting that. That is an important survival technique. And what if we were just, again, able to tune into a Black queer feminist approach to language? And when we do that, we're able to understand that Black English is the language of care. It's the way we say, when we ask each other, you good? Right? That's Black English. Black English is the language of community and collective responsibility. When we say, I got you, we got us. Black English is the language that challenges patriarchy. It's Sojourner Truth saying, ain't I a woman? Black English is the language of service and movement building. When Ella Baker tells us, like, strong people don't need strong leaders, like, just be with the people. Black English is Imara Jones, recentering the culture on what it means to center Black trans stories and stories of trans folks and trans folks of color, and particularly trans folks at Translash. So it's that cultural innovation that she's bringing forward. It is the way Ivana and Daranisha are centering the experiences of Black trans folks in the South. It's Paris Hatcher calling the question around Black queer genders. It is Moya Bailey giving us Black English is sense making, right? Helping us to understand what our experience. It's Black Moya Bailey telling us what misogynoir is, right? That's the anti-Black experiences of patriarchy and racism and all of the isms coming together. So and it's world building, right? Black English unto itself is world building. And that's why we love to quote Octavia Butler. And so, right, Kimberly Crenshaw, it's all of that. And so it's not just the slang, but it's also the cultural production and impact Black people have on language. And so I just want to keep inviting us into this space to really expand how we're talking about language justice, how we practice it, what's the relationship to the communities that we're in. Can we have an actual pro-Black stance to language? Do we understand Black English in this context as its own indigenous thing that we be remixing constantly, right? And that it's regional, like every region has got their thing. So just wanted to lift that up and help us to really ground that Black English and language justice for Black folks is not outside of this. We are not listening in to a conversation that is being had by people who speak other languages than English. It is us. And we are also influencing any culture, any people that we come into contact with. Yeah. So see, Ramelcy, what you want to add?
Ramelcy estaba escuchando la interpretación. And I was like, sí. Solo quiero comenzar repitiendo que la negritud y nuestros idiomas crean mundos, mundos a donde podemos ser comunidades, familias, a donde hay suficiente espacio para nuestra diáspora, para todos nuestros géneros, para todas nuestras sexualidades, para nuestras realidades y nuestras verdades. Eso es el poder de la negritud y nuestros idiomas. So, gracias, Mónica. Lo que quiero aportar también es que yo creo que hay como una resistencia o hay una incomodidad en realizar que el inglés negro es un idioma indígena, porque todavía como una comunidad muy expansiva, un movimiento, todavía no creemos que la gente negra son indígenas. Todavía hay resistencia creyendo que la gente africana son indígenas, que la gente afrodescendiente que somos indígenas también. Y yo creo que hay mucha tensión ahí. Como que la gente negra salieron del aire y de la colonización. Como que si no tenemos tierra, si no tenemos prácticas culturales, y como que todo eso se perdió. Entonces yo creo que hay una tensión todavía muy aparente, muy fuerte en nuestras comunidades, en nuestros movimientos. Como que gente no quiere abrir esa puerta todavía para dejar gente negra ser indígena. Y eso es lo que somos. Y también, entonces, en eso yo creo que hay dos partes que me estaban saliendo a mí, es que le damos demasiado crédito a los colonizadores. Entonces le estamos dando tanto crédito que creemos que el inglés negro es más de los colonizadores y la gente de Inglaterra que negro o indígena o africano. Esa es la primera parte. Y la segunda parte, para mí hay una suposición que los idiomas indígenas no cambian con el tiempo, que solo como que se mueren o se colonizan. Pero Yoruba ha cambiado, right? Cachiquel ha cambiado, todos esos idiomas ha cambiado, y también entonces eso nos puede ayudar a aprender o como entender que el inglés negro cambia con el tiempo. Nuestros idiomas africanos cambian con el tiempo. Entonces, no solamente que ha cambiado porque la colonización o solamente porque estamos en los Estados Unidos. Sí, eso es parte de eso. Pero el tiempo, nuestro contexto histórico, a donde estamos, en la tierra, todo eso ha cambiado. Por eso que me encanta, me tocó tan fuerte cuando Tai dijo en el último encuentro que la tierra no da el idioma. Entonces, también tenemos que pensar y entender que nuestro idioma también cambia con la tierra en que estamos, porque estamos en relación con esa tierra. Y no es solamente porque estamos en tiempos malos, pero también estamos en una relación fuerte y bella con la tierra, que no están cambiando el lenguaje. Y la última cosa que yo quiero decir es que, y esto todavía aplica con el español, claro que yo me siento incómoda con mi español siempre, porque mi gente no necesariamente saben lo que hablaban antes, pero yo sé que cuando yo hablo, que yo cargo el acento de mi abuela del campo, cibaeña, yo sé que cargo campesino en cómo yo hablo, en cómo yo dejo la S y dejo la L y dejo, casi ni queda letra cuando yo hablo algunas veces, pero yo sé que esa es la tradición de mi gente y yo sé que eso es una forma afroindígena de hablar. Yo lo sé y yo lo siento en mi cuerpo y quiero estar con esa complejidad y esa dinámica. So, gracias, Mónica, por la invitación. Te lo paso a ti otra vez.
Woo, ramelcy! Oh my gosh, you now understand why it's such a joy to partner with ramelcy in this work and be in community. We have shared histories and lineages as Black people. Her people are from the campo, my people are from the country. We both from the Bronx, and we're both diasporic people. So I always learn so much with and in your presence. Want to open it up to Black folks who might have something that you want to contribute into this space right now. And also seeing that folks that are in space and in time with us in the chat and in your energy.
Hi, this is Ninaj, she, her, Lee. And I was, you hit me with that, Monica and Ramelcy, because I was born and raised in Chicago to a Haitian family, and where the south side of Chicago, where people moved up from Memphis and from Tennessee and Mississippi. And that's who we were raised around. And so my parents did not encourage us to speak Creole, but they spoke Creole to each other. So we learned it through ear. And again, for the same reasons of colonization and misinformation. And then my father would not allow us to say ain't. He was like, ain't is not a word. But we couldn't remove it from our vocabulary because this is how we spoke with our friends. And so you learn to shift, you know? And then when we got together with Haitian people, it wasn't a Haitian neighborhood. It was like on occasion, then you were together with a bunch of kids of Haitian descent that they were even worse than us. They haven't even, we would exchange Creole phrases. And that was, you know, our first experience with Creole. And the only Creole phrases that we knew are how our parents spoke to us when they're mad at us, because that's the only time they would speak to you in Creole, because they would like show their true emotion, you know? So, but we internalized all that. And that was basically my Creole lessons growing up until I made myself learn how to speak Creole in the 20s and through this experience of working with refugees. So yeah, I just want to say that hit me. That hit me, you know?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, right? Like wherever Black folks are, our language, we're doing a thing with the language. Yes.
I think hi everyone, my name's Indira, pronouns she, her, hers. I think, you know, one, y'all have preached a word this morning. I feel like I don't have to go to church on Sunday as I'm getting ready to walk into Holy Week on Monday. But I feel like what has been resonating in my soul is how do we use language to heal? How do we use language to lead? And I think as a Black woman, to the point that you mentioned earlier, Monica, I think I've struggled with the code switching, right? And what does it mean to walk authentically in our language when you are moving in white spaces? And so I think because you're treated differently, right? Or the standard is differently. And so I think about language and the words I say and how I say them. So that said, I think just, thinking about what does language mean in order for me to live my authentic life in terms of healing, in terms of
Yes.
reading. And I think that is really kind of resonating with me right now. And as well as what does language mean when we're really looking at freedom as liberation?
Yes. Now, Indira, I hear you saying, like, what's the relationship between, in this case, Black English and Black leadership, and what's possible when we free our tongues, and how does our leadership get unlocked? Yeah, right. Like that's what we're up to. So just want to see if there are a few more Black folks that might want to join in or add to this conversation in the verbal space.
Estoy muy emocionada con esta conversación, de verdad. Cuando hablamos de los idiomas, siempre me siento identificada porque siempre hablo de que vengo de un pueblo garífuna de Honduras. Mi idioma es garífuna, no es español, no es inglés. Y yo llegué a vivir a la ciudad cuando yo tenía 12, 13 años y no hablo mucho el garífuna. Y luego me vine para Estados Unidos cuando tenía 19 años y no hablo tanto inglés. Pero por cómo ha pasado los eventos de mi vida, por mucho tiempo me había sentido más culpable por no hablar inglés que por no hablar garífuna. Yo me sentía incluso bien llegar a las reuniones familiares y estén mis abuelos que me hablen en garífuna y poder decirles, no abuela, no la entiendo. Que ir a una reunión de mi trabajo que estén hablando inglés y saber de que no hablo inglés, y eso sí me hacía sentir súper mal, súper extra mega mal, me estaba presionando. Y hablando de que los idiomas sanan, ahora siento que me estaba presionando al lado equivocado, porque estoy tratando de preservar algo que no es mío en cuanto a los garífunas, que es lo mío, que mis hijos van a ser garífunas, que mis padres son garífunas. Estaba ignorando esa área. Entonces, me voy a disculpar conmigo misma. Me voy a disculpar conmigo misma por culpabilizarme, por no manejar un idioma que no es mío, que no me pertenece y que hasta cierto punto me oprime y me humilla, porque cuando llegan los norteamericanos a mi país, cuando llegan a mi pueblo y hablan cualquier barbaridad que no sea español, que no sea garífuna, tratamos de entenderles, tratamos de bailarles con nuestros tambores, tratamos de hacer que se sientan que están en el cielo. Y cuando yo vengo a la tierra de ellos, en serio, a mí en los bancos me han dicho, no te entendemos, no te entendemos. Y ya no te entendemos y no van a buscar una manera de poder, vamos a ver cómo le vamos a entender y cómo vamos a ayudarla a que se sienta cómoda. No lo hacen conmigo, no hacen conmigo lo que en mi tierra hacemos con ellos. Por ende, preservemos nuestra cultura, preservemos nuestros idiomas, que en nuestros idiomas hay vida, ¿no? Hace muy poco, hay personas que están en los centros de migración, saben de que trabajo en esta área, y con lo poco que sé de garífuna, logramos rescatar casos, porque vamos al teléfono, y sabemos de que las llamadas son grabadas y que estamos siendo monitoreados por todas partes, pero aunque estén grabando el garífuna, no nos lo están entendiendo. No los están entendiendo. Entonces, le puedo decir, ya vas para tu entrevista, tú puedes hablar de esto, me pueden hacer alguna pregunta, y con lo poco que sé de garífuna rescatamos casos. Nunca me va a pasar eso con el inglés. Nunca me va a pasar eso con el español. Entonces, mi idioma salva muchas otras cosas, aparte de que preserva nuestra vida y nuestra dignidad humana.
Hey, everybody, and madams here, any and all gender pronouns. First of all, I'm just vibing off the conversation. And I kind of am like, damn, I should just be listening because it was so good. And I hope I could contribute some of that goodness. There's a couple things that come to mind. So one, I think this conversation is so important and does not happen enough. And what does happen is Black people get punished for speaking Black languages, and non-Black people get rewarded and celebrated for speaking Black languages. And so, you know, we sitting here like, damn, can I say girl? And then you walk in and a white chick like, hey girl, you know what I mean? It's like a whole situation. And that even happens amongst Black, brown, and indigenous people as well, is the non-Black, Black, brown, indigenous people get celebrated and rewarded, and Black people get punished for speaking in Black ways. That is also true about Black culture. You know, once I was in a meeting and it was all Black, brown, and indigenous people, and people were going around and talking about organizing traditions, different ways that people call people, gather people, and are seeking to build power. And what was interesting is people could name, or people were naming specific or particular lineages for brown people, for indigenous people. But when it was Black, people saw that as everybody's. People see Black forms, Black ways of being, Black culture, Black language as belonging to everyone, and not belonging specifically to us, which other people have taken to, participated in, and are using. And I think that that produces a particular type of repression inside of, particular type of repression, or a particular type of harm or experience for Black people in building movement spaces. And so I think this conversation is so important. This conversation is so timely. And I think that there does need to be acknowledgement in general from the world, from, you know, whatever, that what people do not name as having lineage is actually Black. And yeah, so there ain't no urban, ain't no hip hop, ain't no motherfucker that's Black. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing in our organizing, right? If you can't trace it to a particular group, chances are you're studying a Black model of organizing. And so that accreditation needs to take place. And just shout out to ramelcy and talking about the anti-Blackness construction of a particular type of indigeneity. I think that I could get all into that, but I'll stop there.
Thank you for that word.
Okay, y'all. So this is Paris, pronouns she, her, and hers. Em and I are beside each other. So but the vibe is real. The sermon is real. The word is real. Okay. This was like, whoa, I needed that. It was perfect. So much resonance. I'm making up words now.
That's what we do. We
exactly.
make up words. We build worlds with our words. Yes.
Exactly. I think for me to add is, you know, my people are from the South, so am I. And so I had grown up so much. I hated being from the South when I was young, because you knew people thought of your culture as backwards, that you're like, you don't know nothing, you country, you this, you that. And I remember I'd never even been in New York. I'd be like, yeah, I'm from New York. People would just lie and be like, they're from New York, right? Because it was like being from the South was like the place you didn't want to be, you know, because people, you know, in the time, a lot of it was around like the politics or the Klan or the racism so much. When I was growing up, Jesse Helms was the senator of North Carolina, and it was just a mess, right? So, but then, you know, so much around my life has been this reclamation around being really proud of being from the South. It's like something that I really lead with, especially it is a cradle for Black folks in this country. So many of us can trace our roots from there. I tell people, like, my folks did not participate in the Great Migration, and there's something to that. Like, people did migrate and my people did not, right? And you know, so much of our organizing traditions are rooted in the South. So much power, so much of like our food ways as well as a part of our culture, right? I mean, I don't know if y'all remember this when there was this big this explosion around kale and collards, right? A couple years ago, that people didn't know that there was like actually a food that people eat. And it's like, that's literally what you mean? Like, we eat collards and kale all the time, right? Or these type of food ways, or like, they'll be like, or it became, what is it? Like a piece of basically fat back, but it became like, it's now like a special type of meat that people eat now, like a pork belly. It's fat back, right? So it's just like, you take these traditions from like, that's really been rooted around Black survival, right? So the collards, the fat back, the cornbread, these were like foods that we made, our culture, right? With our language to survive. And, you know, and you're right, white folks are able to profit. There's this whole hot fried chicken craze that's all over the country now, that's really deeply rooted in like Memphis and other Southern Black culture, that now white folks have taken in, like, okay, we're gonna now start making our own type of like we just see it happen over and time again. So I really love it, because I love this conversation so much, because as mentioned, Black folks are oftentimes seen, that are, you know, US descendants of slaves, as not having culture. People have said that to me. Other Black folks have said, like, you don't have a culture. And I think what happens is that when you become the pulse, literally, I've traveled the world, and y'all, when I tell you the music that you hear everywhere around the world is literally Black US music, it's so interesting, right? Like, we're a big cultural pulse of the world, so much so that people don't believe that we even have a culture. So just really giving a shout out to that, and a shout out to freeing our tongues, unlocking our leadership. And it really is an invitation to other Black staff when you can be like real with them. Do you know what I'm saying? It really allows an opportunity to be in dignity, and also to do it in front of other people. And if they don't understand, they don't understand, right? But it invites in a possibility to be in your true dignity. And it's just so important. So thank y'all so much for this.
Yes. Thank you, Paris. Heidi. Yeah. And Paris, stay with us. Be in the circle with us for this. And I'm going to ask Heidi to close with us.
Esto me emociona tanto, porque como ustedes saben, yo disparo en español y digo lo que me da la gana, y tiene todo que ver con la manera que yo hablo inglés. Y Ramel, si tú lo dijiste esto en el último Convening, tú aprendiste inglés de gente afroamericana en los Estados Unidos. Tenemos que estar claros, hasta con lo que tú dijiste, sí, son gente negra, sí, que cogen nuestra cultura, sí, y que cogen las tradiciones, sí, pero vamos a ser bien específicos. La antinegritud es contra gente negra de los Estados Unidos, porque desde que viene un caribeño negro para los Estados Unidos y hace una cosa, está aceptada, de una vez es decente, de una vez se enriquecen, nosotros nos enriquecemos en la cosa que gente afroamericana y negra de los Estados Unidos han estado haciendo por mucho tiempo. Yo hablo de una forma y todo el mundo, esto habla español así, eso sí es exótico, eso. Espera que una persona negra hable el inglés afroamericano, que está diciendo Mónica que se habla y que es un idioma tal como se dice. Entonces, eso no está aceptado. Entonces, estamos también claro que hay una antinegritud que existe, sí, para gente negra, pero también específicamente para gente negra de los Estados Unidos, que tenemos que también coger la responsabilidad para decir que eso se tiene que interrumpir, que cuando decimos que negritud, entre la negritud y entre la diáspora, tenemos mucho trabajo que hacer para poder entonces dar la cuenta, pagar la cuenta que les debemos a gente negra de los Estados Unidos, específicamente de toda parte del mundo, porque los inmigrantes, mis padres, no están aquí sin el Civil Rights Act en 1965 que abrió immigration para todo el mundo. Así que tenemos una cuenta bien grande para pagarle a la gente negra de los Estados Unidos y a Haití específicamente, pero a la gente negra de los Estados Unidos. Así que gracias por eso.
The doors of the church are open. Spirit is here. The ancestors are with us. The descendants have called us forth. We are in the place. We are in, we're in that space. We are in the space, right? We're world building, as Octavia and so many of us teach us. So just be with the moment. Just be with the moment. Ramelcy, you want to close us out?
Voy a cerrar la puerta, no voy a aportar nada. Todo lo que se ha dicho, estoy de acuerdo. Mucho agradecimiento. Yo creo que tan fuerte que sabemos que nuestros ancestres viajaban y migraban antes de la colonización. Entonces yo lo encuentro tan fuerte y poderoso que nosotros nos encontramos otra vez y estamos haciendo este trabajo juntos. So, muchas gracias para todo lo que compartieron.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to toss to Mara in a minute. So we, ramelcy and I and the community are doing this work. We are inside of what we identify as like 100-year project. We are using language justice to heal backwards and forwards. And we are, listening to our descendants and our ancestors. So yes, it's access. And we are about like healing between folks of color, Black folks, Indigenous folks, Black Indigenous folks, with using language as one of the strategies and tools for that. So that's what we up to. And thank you, everybody.